Sunday School kids. This week's lesson is The Rich Man and Lazarus. We will be reading Luke chapter 16, verse 19 to 31. There was a certain rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. But there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, full of sores, who was laid at his gate, desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So it was that the beggar died, and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And being in torments in Hades, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. Then he carried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in the flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you there is great gulf fixed, so that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us. Then he said, I beg you, therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify to them, lest they also come to this place of torment. Abraham said to him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, if one goes to them from the dead, they will repent. But he said to him, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rise from the dead. That it's important to put God first in our hearts. Sometimes we get confused and we try to rearrange that order. Maybe we put money first and we think we can buy our way into heaven. The man in the gospel seemed to think that, didn't he? Sometimes we get distracted and busy and we forget to make God our number one focus. And think about your morning routine and how you get ready, the order that you do them in. What if you mixed it up a little bit? Say, brushing your teeth. What if you rinsed your mouth first and then put toothpaste on your toothbrush to rinse and brush your teeth? What about when you go wash your hands? What if you change the order of that? What if you dried them first, then rinse them, and then put soap on your hands? What would your outcome be? What if you think about going to put your shoes on? Do you put your shoe on first and then your sock? If you did that, would it work? Probably not. God first look like? Praying before we do anything. How about letting somebody else go in line first? What about giving somebody else a bigger piece of the cookie? Sometimes these things can be hard, but if you put God first, other things will come after.
Thank you for that wonderful church school lesson, Mrs. McCully. It was such a wonderful and refreshing look at the gospel to be this constant reminder for us that we make priorities in life about what is important and what is not. And as Miss McCully rightly said, when our priorities get out of whack, like brushing our teeth after we rinse our mouth out or putting on our shoes before our socks, when things get out of whack, they just don't make sense and things go a little bit awry. But whenever we put God first, things in life make a little bit more sense or a lot bit more sense. So this week's activity, which Mrs. McCully sent to me, is called Time for God. This is going to be a lesson where you construct a kind of clock out of a paper plate, and you're going to use this as kind of a reminder about where God should be in your list of priorities. So the first thing you're going to do is get that paper plate and put around it, like the numbers on a clock, a list of activities and things that take up time in your life. Make sure that at the very top of the clock, where 12 would normally be, you write God. Next, you'll take an arrow and you're going to glue it so that it doesn't move, pointing upwards towards God. Then you're going to attach a smaller arrow, and using a brad fastener, You're going to put that smaller arrow in the plate so that it can rotate freely. And you can point it to all the kind of lesser activities that you have in the day that might be fun and might be good for you, but aren't as important as your relationship with God. And finally, when you are all done, you can decorate the plate by maybe hanging things from it, like a little icon or a little piece of paper with a Bible verse on it, or maybe a picture that you drew. Decorate it nicely and then find a place where you can look at it and see it. When you're all done, you should see something that looks a little bit like this. A plate with God at the top, a number of activities around, and then some hands. I certainly encourage you to do so, and then send maybe a picture to me and Mrs. McCully, and we can put those up in our church school room to welcome you back when we eventually come back to our class one day. But importantly, make sure this goes in the house somewhere, maybe even where your parents can see it, so that as we go about through our lives on a daily basis, as Mrs. McCully said, we can look to this and remember where our true heart must be and where our priorities should lie, always with God. God bless you. Thank you, Mrs. McCully, for a wonderful lesson, and God willing, we'll see you here next week for our online church school.